This episode of the Restoration Today podcast is brought to you by Actionable Insights. Actionable Insights is the restoration industry's leading educational nonprofit, helping contractors and carriers settle claims on the daily. Go to getinsights.org. Hey, restorers, thanks for checking out this episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Today, I'm joined by two of the gentlemen from Matterport. They're probably familiar faces. If you ventured any trade shows, they are at a lot of trade shows, as am I. So we hang out in each other's booths. Sometimes me more so in theirs because I don't stay in my booth. But anyway, that's neither nor there. So I'm joined by Ben Clark and Tim Kern. Again, they are part of the Matterport team. They work very closely with restorers and kind of help with your documentation needs. I think everybody knows what Matterport is. I would really hope so that they do. But if not, you're going to find out what it is. But there's going to be a lot more capabilities, and there's going to be some teasers, or a teaser at least, at the end of the podcast. So be sure to listen all the way through so you can kind of hear what's coming in the future of Matterport technology. So, all right, Tim, I'm going to toss it over to you first to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background in the industry.
Well, thank you for having us, Michelle. My name is Tim Kern. My role currently at Matterport is what they call Senior Staff Customer Success Manager for the insurance and restoration team. I know that is a mouthful. What that basically comes down to is being responsible for training, onboarding, and implementation of Matterport for anybody in the insurance and restoration vertical once they have signed up. I have been at Matterport now for 2.5 years. Prior to joining Matterport, to sum this up quickly, working on 25 plus years of experience in the insurance and restoration industry. Started as a restoration contractor and have worked my way up through every position you can imagine within any restoration organization or TPA and or software or insurtech company. So I am happy to be on this podcast with you today, Michelle, and we can hand it on over to my colleague, Ben Clark.
Go for it, Ben.
All right, awesome. Ben Clark, like Michelle said, if you've been at most of the conferences this year, I've probably am a familiar face. Just went over my 2-year mark at Matterport, which in Matterport years is like dog years, so it feels like forever. Before that, I was an adjuster for about 5 years with State Farm Insurance. So went from the carrier side over to Matterport. Now my roles and responsibilities, I'm an account executive covering most of the large franchise organizations. And then I also work directly with the carriers. So trying to bridge that gap where contractors can work with carriers, there's no disputes, our documentation it is what it is. There's no rounding up or rounding down. It provides you exactly what it is.
Perfect. Okay, so I know that you two really dove into the state of the industry study that we did in 2022 and used that a lot of the data out of there, which had some good info in there for Matterport specifically, even for some of your presentations and stuff you did this year. So I want to tease out a little bit of 2023 data that I actually just saw yesterday that I think will lead well into some of our conversations. So last year, AI was not addressed at all. Nobody brought up AI in the state of the industry report, nothing. Now it's everywhere. All answers across the board in all different topics. AI is such a huge topic now. So I want you two to touch on where you kind of see AI going in the industry, especially when it comes to the photo and visual documentation and creating those initial estimates that are getting sent to adjusters and things like that. I know that this is a huge area where restorers are always looking for help and innovation. So Ben, I don't know, I'll have you start on this one since Tim started on the last one. Where do you see AI kind of going in the industry in the next maybe 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, it's like you said, a year ago, wasn't talked about. Now it's the only thing that is talked about, it seems. We've got some cool things coming at Matterport where AI will be a large part. Whether it is like you said, there was going to be a teaser at the end. I'll go ahead and share it now. We've got automated room measurements, pretty much automated measurements. So where before you would take your scan, upload your model, have to order either a schematic floor plan, get all your measurements there, or do it manually. Now it's all going to be provided for you. You will essentially get a 2D floor plan that gives you all your measurements, your rooms. There's a press release on the Matterport website that goes through everything, but it's going to be a game changer.
Perfect. So Tim, touch on that as well, where you think AI is going, and also touch on what you tell restorers who are nervous about this whole AI. Like, I don't know that this is where I really want the industry going, because I know that there are some nervous Nellies out there when it comes to AI.
That's a great point, Michelle. With any technology, people, especially that have been in the industry many, many years, are a little nervous or sometimes slow to adopt or really grasp a hold of the new tech that's available. AI being one of those things we've heard a lot about recently, especially with companies like ChatGPT. And, how does that come in and into play in the Matterport world? As Ben mentioned, some of the features and tools that are available currently at Matterport, things like the measurements and labeling rooms. But the first time a restoration contractor actually sees a Matterport model, the use case, the values, the things that stand out, it just makes too much sense. There's so many areas where you can plug Matterport in and get value from it. And when you take all of the recent developments with AI and the user experience in mind, we're going to leverage that to make the user experience much easier, much faster. And when you see it all come together, I use the phrase the perfect storm. It's a series of many things coming together to create this perfect scenario. And as Ben shared earlier, I'm equally excited for our clients when these features become available to everyone.
How do you help restorers that you know or clients who come across filter through all the technology options that are out there? I mean, if you walk a trade show floor right now, there's new technology companies constantly, whether it is on the visual side of things, doing your photo documentation or software or whatever that might be. And every company is different and kind of has different needs. So how do you two kind of coach restorers through choosing what's right for them in the tech space? Figure out who wants to take that one first.
Ben, you want to start with that one?
I'll hop in here real quick. So Matterport, about a dozen years ago, really our bread and butter, what we started in was the real estate space, but we've expanded well beyond that now. So fortunately, if people go to Zillow or Realtor.com and look for a prospective house, they've seen Matterport, so they're already familiar with it. Then when they walk in a trade show and see on our TV a Matterport model, they're like, "I've seen this before." That has helped, and then really just they see it and the use case makes sense, like Tim said. You can document everything exactly as it was. Before anyone comes in and moves things, you have a exact representation of what the property looked like at that point.
Mm-hmm. Tim, anything you want to add to that?
Absolutely. Having this unique insurance and restoration team at Matterport, you obviously have industry experts and people who bring many, many years of experience to the playing field. And we understand the day-to-day duties, the workflow, the technology that exists, what works, how it all comes together. So we're able to bring that to the table. When we begin a conversation, the thing that we focus on 100% is value. What are the values that you're looking to achieve, and how can Matterport play a big role in those values?
So one of the big pain points in the industry also as well, obviously, is getting paid, and documentation is a big part of that, and backing up the work that you're doing with documentation. So how have you seen companies kind of avoid some of the big pushback from adjusters when they make the switch from doing like normal traditional images, maybe through an iPhone or a regular camera or whatever that may be, to something like Matterport where you're doing the 3D images and total walkthrough and you can zoom in and all that? I would love like some actual insight that you've gotten directly from contractors with their jobs and how it's easier now for them to get paid.
Yeah. Even like I talked about, Matterport is well known out in the world. Yeah. A lot of people still haven't seen it. So what we recommend is just talk to the adjuster up front. Get them on the call, say, "Hey, I'm going to send you a link. I want you to open it." Then once they open that link and our contractors say, all we hear is wow. Like the adjusters weren't expecting it. And when it is there, it gives them like crystal documentation of every single room in the house. So if you have that conversation ahead of time, say, this is what we did, rather than 400 pictures that we took, I'm going to send you one link, and that way you can have pictures of everything you possibly need.
Exactly.
Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, to piggyback on that a little bit, Michelle, when we specifically zero in on sharing models, transferring models from your account to someone else, or utilizing a feature that is extremely underutilized, in my opinion, it's something we refer to at Matterport called deep links. Whether you're having a dispute with an adjuster, a policy holder, potentially even a TPA. We know a lot of organizations work through TPAs. We work with TPAs as well. We call it deep links. It is utilizing a link that you can create that will take you directly to a specific scan point inside of a model. So if there's ever a dispute about an estimate line item, if they're utilizing Xactimate, they're able to add a line item attachment, F9 note, many of you are familiar with. You can actually create that URL from the Matterport model and copy and paste that link as an F9 note. And the dispute is no more, to say the least. It takes you virtually directly to the closest scan point where that link was created. And there are no more questions about the grade of the line item entered for replacement or whatever the scope of repair is. So just a real live example of that and how it comes into use day to day.
What do you tell restorers who are like, I don't know that I want to invest in this kind of technology, although I think the price point has come down considerably from when this first came out as well. So I don't think it is the tremendous investment that it was when this was new technology. Same with computers, they used to cost like $10,000 to get a monstrosity of a computer, which is not the case anymore. But what would you say is, what would you say to companies that are nervous about making the investment? Like, no, what we're doing is fine.
Yeah, so a lot of the misconception that we still hear every day, if you look over Tim's shoulder, there's a $6,000 piece of hardware sitting there. You don't have to spend $6,000. You can start out with camera and a tripod for $400. When you figure the amount that restorers spend on their trucks and DHUs and everything like that, they can start small, and then once they start doing big commercial spaces, then they can look at a bigger camera. But it's a small investment on the hardware side. And then the cost of the subscriptions, depending on their usage, it's relatively inexpensive. So no, it is a scary point that people think, oh, I've got to drop $10,000 to get started, when that's not the case at all.
Yeah, and to add to that, Ben, our account subscriptions, if let's say, for example, a restoration contractor, for that use case, our subscriptions start very low, and you are always able to start off with a very small tier account, a business or a professional plan. And then as your business needs grow, you can always upgrade or expand that subscription as needed. So it's very user friendly as an experience to go in and see what those accounts cost. You can go to Matterport.com and shop around. You can toggle over, how many active spaces do I think I would need? And it will give you those price points exactly based on what your preferences are. The ROI, right? You mentioned people being nervous or scared to make that initial investment of, whether it's a few $100s or a few $1,000s. I go directly to my own experiences in the insurance world, and having been on site where, let's say, a policyholder claims you scratched or damaged their wood floor or appliances, and someone points a finger at your organization and says, you are responsible for this. The first time that happens, it's very costly to an organization. Replacing, hardwood floors that are continuous throughout an entire floor of a property or multiple floors is extremely costly. Matterport pays for itself the first time it saves you, more than 5 or 10-fold in those cases or those situations. So we preach at Matterport, there's 3 different scenarios where restoration contractors will typically use Matterport. It's pre-mitigation before any work's done. That saves you from any of those circumstances or situations. You also have post-mitigation that basically safeguards you for all the mitigation work that was done, justifies your emergency service or repair estimate, and gets you paid faster. And last but not least, your post-repair scan, that's going to save you when it comes to warranty issues, workmanship issues, or if you're working with a TPA and there's ever anything that comes through, let's say an issue resolution or something like that, you have that post-repair scan to justify exactly what the space looked like at the time the certificate of satisfaction was signed.
Is there anything related to using Matterport or 3D imaging where it's kind of a best practice, but you see a lot of restorers missing that step and you just keep telling them, do this, do this, do this, and they kind of keep missing it? Anything that you want to drill home here, like you really should be doing this to get the most out of your equipment?
Absolutely. Ben, I'll let you chime in first on this one.
I'm going to say
moment, both of you.
capture the entire space or the entire floor. A lot of people, if there's just water damage in one bathroom, they'll go in and take pictures of the bathroom and they don't capture anything in the room over. And then all of a sudden they find damage there and lots of things have gone on and they cannot capture back what was there originally. So yes, it'll take a little bit more time, but just be thorough, capture the entire space. That way you have everything you'll need and not have to make multiple trips out.
Yeah, I echo exactly what Ben said there. Is when we train the basics of Matterport, and we talk about the proper scan path and how to utilize the camera, we preach and teach the restoration contractor to take sufficient scans in any areas of the property where work is going to be performed or there may be existing damages. So making sure they've done that due diligence, and what Matterport does, it saves them from having to go back to the property again to document things. So we want to make sure they get that value out of the software when it's available to them. So 100%.
Okay, and we talked a little bit about adjuster relationships and how this can help with that side, but what about things go well with a customer? How have you seen this help with restorers connecting with their customers in a positive way and kind of making a good impression, maybe even versus a competitor in the market? I mean, sometimes there are a couple of restoration contractors who end up on a job site. So is this something that can put them ahead of their competition? How can this help with good customer rapport? Tim, I'm going to toss that one to you first.
All right. So this is definitely one of those things that you can leverage in your organization to get a step up on your competitors. There are hundreds, thousands of restoration contractors that are utilizing Matterport, but those that are doing it in the right way are leveraging it in a way that's going to benefit their sales teams as well. And being able to go in, and everybody in the industry has seen a pamphlet that their marketing team has put together that shows before and after pictures, right? Photos on a piece of paper. Well, it doesn't really do the same, or it doesn't provide as much impact as being able to show a pre-mitigation scan and then a post-mitigation scan. The wow factor, being able to, and I say this because I'm probably aging myself by saying this phrase, but go back to the future, right? Kind of like the movie, I use that phrase. If you were able to go back to the future at this specific moment in time and immerse yourself in that property at the exact time, that is exactly what Matterport does. So I use that analogy or example all the time. And when we're able to then show them a demo, everything comes together and they understand it very well.
Ben, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, what Tim said and what a lot of other customers do, a lot of other contractors do is for their customer, they'll say, hey, go to Matterport.com. You can create a free account. I can, once we're done, and I can transfer you the scan so you can have it for yourself. So if anything else ever comes up, if there's a claim, you've got a complete model of what your house looked like. So you've got all the documentation you need for insurance to say, yes, this is what it looked like from there. So really easy for contractors, just make a copy in their account, send it to the homeowner. And it's a good way to, if anything ever does come up, that's who the customer is going to call.
Yeah, two things to add to Ben's point, and Ben, thank you for bringing that up, is homeowners then have the ability in that free model, if they ever want additions or renovations done on their home, they're able to generate a floor plan, which is going to be the first thing a contractor is going to ask for, is a blueprint of the home. So you're saving a tremendous amount of cost from having to have an engineer come out or a structural drawing need to be created of the property. That's a big value to a homeowner. On top of that, that Matterport model that sits in their free account that they do not pay for, they have a live version of an inventory list of what exists in their home. So those that are prone to hurricanes or disaster or catastrophe areas close to the Gulf or coastline, if you ever have a hurricane, you have an existing Matterport model that justifies what you actually own. It's like having a living inventory list of your property that becomes completely invaluable. You cannot put a price tag on that if a disaster happens.
Yes, for sure. Okay, before we wrap it up, do either of you have any trends or predictions for what you think is coming in 2024? Anything you think restorers should be looking out for when it comes to AI or technology, anything like that?
Ben, I'll let you go first on this one.
I know it's early, it's in beta. I'm just going to echo it again. The immediate measurements and immediate floor plans that are going to be generated is going to save people time. Like in this industry, time is money. You don't want to wait 2 days for a floor plan to show up when it's going to be automatically there. Go out, scan a house in the morning, upload it, and in the afternoon it's there, and you can get started on everything. It's gonna be awesome.
Perfect. Tim, anything you want to add to that?
Yep, absolutely. I say focus on the user experience and those that have mastered Matterport and have navigated the edit toolbar and know about things like tags, measurements, room labeling. Stay tuned. There's some exciting things coming in the future that I will say make the user experience much, much easier and more valuable to save you time in the field and getting the max value out of the product.
Perfect. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate both of your time. I look forward to seeing you at many more trade shows in the coming months, although 2023 is kind of winding down, but it'll ramp right back up in January. So I look forward to seeing you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
For more Restoration Today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.